Okay, last class what we have discussed is hardware design flow. What is hardware design flow?
Generating RTL model.
Generating RTL specification from input specification. That is actually what we can actually brief about hardware specification.
To RTL.
Okay, there are different processes. First one is compilation. That means from input specification we will generate a intermediate model, that is tool model. Then we will go for estimation. Then HLS. HLS means it will be having high level synthesis. It is having three different stages, that is allocation, binding and scheduling. There are different approaches. We can actually do allocation, binding and scheduling together or one by one. Depending upon our need, we can actually do. For an optimized result, normally we will go for a combined stage. That means allocation, binding and scheduling will be done together. Then once you do that, you will get a model, that is RTL model generation will be there. That is model RTL model you will get, and that can be used by our normal tools, RTL tools for generation of corresponding hardware. That is what we call it first hardware design flow. Okay, that's what we discussed in the previous class. So then we discussed the general RTL architecture. That is, it will be having two sections. One is controller part and a data path part, right? So controller will generate the control signals depending upon the control inputs, and data path will be responsible for processing the data depending on the instruction from the controller. So we have discussed two types of controller, that is FSM controller as well as programmable controller. Okay, this much we have discussed. Next is input specification. That means in the design flow, the first section is specification, the input specification. For that, we can actually use different methods. One is using normal programming language. We can actually define the inputs, okay, or the functionality can be defined using a normal programming languages, that is C, C++, okay. Then another methods are there, that is using some system description language. System C can be used, and control data flow graph, FSM based, RTL netlist based, or HDL based. This much input specification is possible. So we are actually looking, or we are actually going to study about this input specification in this class, basically. Okay, starting from normal programming language, we will go to programming language, then control data flow graph, then FSMD, and then HDL based input specification. That much we will discuss. Okay. So for that, first we are actually going through an example. So our requirement here is to design a ones counter, or hardware for an ones counter has to be designed. Okay, that's our basic requirement. Ones counter means simple thing. That means if you are having a data input, so you have to count the number of ones in that particular data. That's what we call it as ones counter. Okay, you have an input data, you have to count. That means it's a binary data, it will be having zeros and ones. You have to count the number of ones in that particular data. That is what we call it as ones counter. Okay, so we are going to generate a ones counter. For that, how we can actually specify the input using a C code. That's our first task. Okay, that means we are going to write the C code for a ones counter. Ones counter means you have to count the number of ones in the input data. Okay, it's a simple task. So we already know C language. So specifying a ones counter using C code is not a big task. Okay, for that, so this is the code for ones counter. Okay, this much section is the ones counter, C code for ones counter. So C means it's basically working based on a function code. Here we are actually defining a function for ones counter. Okay, this is a function, ones counter function. Here it is receiving the data as integer. Integer input should be given, and the return type will be integer. Okay, this is a function call. This function, the function name is ones counter, and input will be an integer. Right now we are receiving it as data. We are declaring a variable data and we are receiving the input to that particular variable. Okay, then return type will be integer. This is clear, right? You already know
Yes.
C code. So same thing. So here the basic thing is, first of all, we are actually declaring a variable integer ones count. O count means it's a variable that is declared for storing the number of ones. And along with that, we are actually declaring two more variables. That is, one is temp, temporary variable, and a mask. Mask is actually initialized as 1. All these are integers. Okay. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So initialization, but we are actually declaring variables output count and it's initialized to 0, and mask is initialized to 1, and a temporary variable is declared. So when we are entering to the function, first there is a while loop. Okay, while loop, while the condition is data greater than 0. If the data is greater than 0, it will enter to this particular loop. Okay, initially if you are actually passing a data, okay, if you are passing an 8-bit data, for example 0 1 1 0 1 1 0 1, maybe this is an 8-bit data. So if right now we are actually considering an 8-bit data as an example. If you are actually passing an 8-bit data to this particular function, okay, first what will happen is this is data d equal to this one. Okay, so initially we will be checking whether the data is greater than 0. If it's actually greater than 0, it will enter to this particular loop. Okay, and we have already declared a mask variable that is actually initialized as 1, that is 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 1. Okay, this is mask. Okay, mask is initialized as 0 0 0 0 1. Okay, so right now what we have to do is we have to first step is temp equal to data and mask. We are actually doing the logical AND operation between the data and the mask. This is data and this is mask. Mask is 0 0 0 1 and this is actual data, input data 0 0 1 0 1 1 0 1. Okay, and if you are performing the logical AND operation has to be performed. Okay, if you are performing the logical AND operation, what happens is the LSB bit is 1, right? Here all these remaining things will be 0 0 and 0 0 0 1 0 0 and 1 0 0 and 1 0 and 0 0 0 0 and 1 0 and 1 0 and 0. All this will be zeros. So the result will be 0 0 0 0 1, right? That is logically 1. You will get 1 as the output. After that AND operation, temp will be 1. Okay, since the LSB is 1 and 1, you will get here 1 will be ANDed with 1, you will get output as 1. So that will be our result. Temp will be equal to 1 after this operation. Then the next operation is output count. O count equal to, there is a small change here. This is not data. This is equal to output count. Output count OC plus 10. Okay, output count equal to output count plus 10. That is the instruction to be here. There is a small change in the code. Okay, output count should be equal to output count plus 10. So right now output count is 1 plus, output count is 0. Initially output count was 0. So output count is 0. 0 plus 1 will be stored to output count. Okay. So right now after this first step, the output count becomes 1. Okay. Right now output count is 1. Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
We are ANDing this mask with this particular data. So mask is actually 0 0 0 0 0 1. Only the LSB is 1. Remaining all bits are 0. And data So first, if you are ANDing, the LSB of this data will be retained. If it is 0, it will be returned as 0. If it is 1, it will be returned as 1. Right now, the LSB of this data is 1, so that 1 is retained. So our temporary variable or temporary variable will be equal to 1. That temporary variable will be added with the output count. Output count was initially 0, so 0 plus 1 will become 1. And after that, the next step is data is actually shifted one position to right. Okay, if you are actually shifting this data to right, what happens? Here a 0 will come and the LSB becomes 0. So that the data becomes 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0 or 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, is it clear? When you are actually shifting this data to right by 1, the LSB bit will actually move out. So LSB bit will be lost, and to the MSB there will be an additional 0 will be appended. Right? If you are actually shifting it to one position, what happens is what was in the LSB, that was 1. In the previous case, it was 1. So that 1 will go move out, and that will be lost. That bit will be lost, and this 0, 1, 0 will be appended to the MSB. So the data right now becomes 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0.
0.
So here the LSB position is 0. Then again, we are actually repeating the loop. Right now also data is not equal to 0. We are actually coming back. Okay. And we are again doing the same operation. Temp equal to data and mask. Data and mask. This is the data. Only up to this data is there. Here this bit is actually lost. Okay. So this is the MSB bit. Oh, this is the LSB bit. Okay. 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, so this 0 is in the LSB. So if you are doing the AND operation, what will be the result? Mask is again the same, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay, 0 and if you are actually doing the AND operation, if you are actually having zeros, that will be zeros, right? So mask, the 7 bit is 0, so that 7 bit should be 0. We don't need to worry about that. On the LSB bit is 1, but in the data, the LSB bit is 0. So 1 and 0 will be 0. So right now the temp value will be 0. So temp plus, again we are actually doing temp plus output count as output count. Output count was 1. So 1 plus 0, 1. So it will be retained, and we are actually repeating the loop. Okay. Again shifting the data. That means this bit will be lost. Last bit will be lost. Okay. And one more 0 will be added over the MSB. So right now the LSB is 1. Okay. So again doing the AND operation means you will get mask LSB is 1 and the data LSB is also 1. 1 and 1, you will get 1 as the temp. 1 plus 1 as the, now the temp value is 1. Okay. Temp value will be 1. Next we will be adding that temp value to output count. That is 1 plus 1 will be happening here, and we will get 2 as the output count. Output count is 2. This will be repeated till the data becomes 0. That means in the next loop it will be output count becomes 3, then 4, then 5. So you will get 5 as the output. Okay. So as the loop continues, finally the data becomes 0. Till the data becomes 0, this loop will be executed, and finally you will get the output count as 5, whatever be the value in the input. So right now our input had 5 ones, so our final output will be, output count will be 5. That means number of ones in the data. So after this loop, we are actually returning the value of output count. Okay, the value will be returned as output count. Whatever be the value in this variable output count, that will be the return value of this particular function, return output count. And after that, the loop ends. So that is the operation of a C code. That means if you are writing a C code for one's counter, it will be like this. So it will be having, it will be a function-based C code. That means normally the C codes will be function-based. When you are actually calling the function will be executed, and the return value will be given back. So this is a normal C code, and this is actually suitable for implementing in a normal processor. So if a processor can actually execute a C code, then it will get the number of ones count. Okay. So actually a software code, and we cannot actually directly implement this in the hardware. Okay, this same C code, actually, if you are actually writing for a hardware, okay, if you are actually going to execute in the software, then no issues, this will be fine. But if you are actually, right now our aim is to design a hardware for this particular code, for particular functionality, we need to define a hardware. So if you are actually moving to the hardware, we cannot simply write this while data greater than 0, and all this cannot be we cannot actually do this particular function code. Okay, data greater than 0, that we can actually execute, but this function code we cannot actually do in a hardware. Okay, so C code will be basically function call based. So instead of that, we are actually modifying this particular code so that it will be suitable for an RTL based implementation. So that is what we are actually returning writing here. This one is the actually RTL based C code. This is also a C code, but it is actually modified for being implemented in a hardware. That means instead of having a function call, we are actually implementing a control signal over here, that is start. Okay, the continuously executing loop, that means hardware loop, codes will be normally executing continuously, that is it will be written inside a while one loop. Okay, for if you are actually writing a code for a embedded system, normally we will be writing while one, that is it is actually continuously executing loop. Okay, while one means it's actually a continuously executing code, right? While always true, while one means it's always true, that means it will be entering to this loop always. Okay, right? Do you know this? While one, why we are actually writing this while one? While will be having a condition check. Here the condition is always one, means it's always true. True or false means, while true means it will be returning value as 1, and if it is false it will be returning 0. While true means it will be 1, if it is false it will return 0. So here instead of having that particular true or false condition check, we are actually writing that it's always true. 1 means we are directly giving that the condition is always true. That means the loop will be executing continuously. There is no end for this loop. Always this loop will continue to run. Okay, that's why we write while one. If you are actually checking the code for any of the embedded system, then there will be this while one loop will be there. If you are writing software for an embedded system, then obviously it should be a continuously executing code. Okay, whenever we provide the input, it should work according to the input. That's the logic behind that. Okay, we are actually continuously checking for the input, and whenever the input is available, it should work according to the input. That's why we are actually having a continuous loop, continuously checking. Okay, here we have introduced an additional control signal as start. Start is a control signal actually. Okay, whenever this start is 1, then only we need to execute this particular code. Okay, we have a start signal. Whenever we provide the start signal, then only the code needs to be executed. So that's first condition check. While start equal to 0, 0 means we are not giving start, right? Start is 0. If start is 0, it will halt in this particular line itself. While start equal to 0, semicolon. That means if start is 0, it will continuously execute this loop. It will check whether start is 0. If it is 0, it will come back again to the same code, same line, and it will again check start equal to 0. This will continue till the start is 0. Right? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. When start is made 1, that means when you are actually giving the start signal, start is made 1, then this condition check will be giving a false statement. Start equal to 0. It is checking whether start is equal to 0. Right now start is 1. So this condition check is giving a false. So it will actually execute this particular loop. Okay, this condition is not satisfied. That means this loop will be exited. That means it will come here. Like that. It will check for the start signal. If the start signal is 0, if the start signal is not present, it will continuously execute the same line. Line number 2 will be executed continuously. When the start is made 1, this condition will be false. That means it will exit that particular loop. That loop means second line. It will exit the second line and it will come to the third line. Okay. There we are actually setting one more control signal as done. Done is actually taken as a control signal to indicate that once you finish the execution of this code, we will make the done signal as 1. Otherwise, the done will be 0. Not to notify that we have completed a data conversion or whatever be the function. We have actually completed that particular execution in order to show that we are actually using a done signal. Once you find out the number of ones, the done signal will be made 0. So initializing done as 0, and when the conversion is over, we will make the done as 1. That's the logic. So initializing for the third line is actually initializing the done signal to 0. Okay.
Yes.
Fourth line, again we are actually receiving the input. Input is equal to input means there will be an input port. So whatever be the data coming through that input port, that we are actually storing to a variable data. Okay. Then we are actually making another variable, that is output count is a variable that we are actually making as 0, initializing output count to 0. Okay. Then we are actually defining a mask as 1. Same thing what we have done here. So initialization of output count and mask. Okay. Inside this particular loop, what we are doing is while data greater than or equal to 0, temp equal to data and mask. Same thing. Data will be ANDed with mask. Mask is already 1. Okay. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 and data. That will be performed. That means the temp will be giving the value of the LSB. If the LSB bit is 0, temp will be 0. If the LSB bit is 1, temp will be 1. Right? And that will be added with the output count. Output count was initially 0. Okay. Output count was initially 0. So that output count will be now updated as 0 plus 1. That means output count will become 1. And this will be continued till the data becomes 0. We are actually right shifting the data and again checking whether data is 0. And this process will be continuing. The same code we are actually writing here. There is only slight modification. We have actually introduced a start signal and done signal. Okay, start signal and done signal are actually introduced. And once you finish that, what we are doing is we are actually moving the variable to the output port. That means output count is the variable that stores the number of ones, and that will be given as the output. Output count will be given to the output port, and the done signal will be made 1. Okay, this is also a C code, but it is actually more similar to a RTL based code. That means here we have a control signal, and depending upon the control signal, we are actually entering the loop. And once you finish that, you are actually giving a indication that the data conversion is over, and all these things are done here. So this is a RTL based C code. The same ones counter. This is the RTL based C code. So here we are actually specifying the first input specification using programming language. Normal programming language for the software we have discussed, and now for the corresponding hardware design, if you are actually specifying the C code, there will be a slight modification, that is RTL based C code. That's what we discussed. Clear? Okay, this is the first scenario. So input specification can be made using normal programming language. Second thing, same once counter we are actually doing, or we are actually specifying the input using control data flow graph. This is CDFG, means control data flow graph. Okay, CDFG. CDFG is another method or another way of representing the same input. Okay, this is a more graphical based representation of the same code. That means this is also the code for a ones counter. Here it is written as CDFG for ones counter. CDFG, control data flow graph for ones counter. Here, the main advantage is here with the more graphical type of representation. Here, basically we can have a square type block. Okay. So CDFG, if you are analyzing the CDFG, you can have this or rectangular based blocks and this condition checks. Okay. These blocks we are actually, or these rectangles we are calling it as basic block BB. Okay. And this decision box will be used to check for the conditions. So in this basic block, what we will be returning is normal operations. That means whatever be the action that has to be done here, that will be written inside this basic block. And this decision box will be used to check for condition. So in this particular diagram, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 basic blocks. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 1 rectangle, 2, 3, and 4 rectangles. 4 rectangles means 4 basic blocks and 2 condition checks. Here 1 start condition and 1 data greater than or equal to condition check is there. So these are actually if statements. If the start is equal to 0 or if the start equal to 1. Now to check that. Okay. 4 basic blocks and 2 condition checks are happening here. So what happens here is this first block is actually empty. Right? There is nothing written inside this first block. First basic block is actually empty. Okay. And right now we are actually first entering to the empty block, and after that empty block we are actually checking for the start signal. Whether the start signal is equal to 0 or 1. That's an if statement. If start equal to 0, what happens is it is actually going back to the empty block. Okay. Same ones counter we are actually specifying using control data flow graph. So here we have basic blocks as well as condition checks. So basic blocks we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 basic blocks in this particular diagram or control data flow graph. We have 4 basic blocks, and first block is actually empty. So normally we will be entering to the first block, and after that first block means there is nothing to do here. It's an empty block. So exiting that particular block, it will check the start condition, whether the start equal to 0 or what. If the start is 0, that means if the start signal is not at given, that means it will again come back to the empty block, and it will again come back check whether the start is 0, and this will be continued. Okay, is it clear? First block is empty. Nothing has to be done over here. It will execute, or it will go through that particular block, and it will check whether the start signal is equal to 0. If it is 0, it will again go back to the empty block, and this process will continue till the start signal becomes 1. Once the start signal becomes 1, it will go to the next block, or second basic block will be executed once the start signal is given, and the start signal is 1, it will enter to the next block. So this is an initialization block. Okay, whatever be the initialization needed for this particular code, that will be done here in this particular basic block. This is a representation. So here, whatever be the input coming over here, that will be given to the data. Okay, input from the input port, the data available will be given to the variable data. That's the first thing. Okay, what is the input? That is given to data, or whatever be the input coming, that will be stored as data. Next thing is mask variable. Mask variable is initialized as 1, output count is initialized as 0, and done signal is actually initialized as 0. Initialization, that means once this block is over, what happens is data equal to input, mask equal to 1, output count equal to 0, and done signal will be 0. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
A same thing what we have written in the C code, that same thing has happened here. That means initialization has happened. And now the next block. Next block is actually the actual function execution. Okay, actual function execution means first the data will be taken, okay, and mask variable will be set as, that is data is whatever be the data input data that we gave, and mask is equal to 1. Okay, here what happens is data and mask. That is data will be logical or ANDed with mask variable. Okay, logical AND operation between the data and mask will be happening over here. So first data is taken, then mask is taken, and that AND operation will be done. And after that, what happens is output count will be equal to, output count will be taken, and output count will be equal to output count plus done. Or output count is equal to output count, or whatever be the output here. This is mask plus, or mask into data will be coming as one input, and output count is coming as one input. So output count plus this particular input, that is data and mask. So in our previous code we called this temp. We are not giving the temp name over here. Whatever be the data and mask value, that will be ANDed, and that will be added with output count. That means output count equal to output count plus this data and mask. That will be stored as output count. Okay. Okay. Then this line is actually whatever be the done signal, that will be given as the output of this particular block. Done is same. We are not changing the done. Done is initially 0, so that 0 value will be passed as 0 over here. And we will again check. There is one more operation in the block, that is data will be, okay, data will be modified as data right shifted by one position. Okay, if it is 0 0 0 0 1, then what happens is this will actually right shift that particular data by one position. Is it clear? So first we are taking the data, then mask value. We are actually loading the logical operation, logical AND operation. Then we are actually taking the output count, and we are actually adding the output count with this data and mask value, and that will be stored as output count. Here it is shown as this output count. At the same time itself, parallelly, one more thing is happening. Data will be right shifted by one position. It means here once you do the data and mask, we can actually modify the data. Data will be right shifted by one position. Parallelly, at the same time itself, we can actually add output count plus output count equal to output count plus data and mask. So that will be given as the output. Done signal is 0, so the output also will be, that signal will be not changed. That is going to be same 0 over here, and then it will check whether the data is 0. Right now the data means data is actually right shifted by one position. The data is not 0, again it will go back to the loop. It will continue till data becomes 0. Okay, same operation. That means first we are actually taking the data value, we are actually doing the logical AND operation with mask variable, storing the result as output count. Okay, then we are actually right shifting the data. Same procedure, output count will be equal to output count plus the data and mask. Again we are right shifting the data, we are checking whether data is equal to 0. If it is not 0, the loop will be repeated till data becomes 0. So once the data becomes 0, the execution will actually move to the next block, that is the final basic block. Okay, the data is not 0, it will go back to the same block itself. If it is equal to 0, then it will go to the next block. Next block is actually nothing has to be done over here. Whatever be the output count, okay, that has to be given as the output, and the done signal will be given as the next thing. Okay, here we are actually taking the output count, so output count will be given as the output. Done signal will be made as 1, and that will be given as the output. So once the done signal is given, the data, the final output will be taken as the output count. Is it clear? and again it will go back to the empty loop. Empty loop means we have to again wait for the start signal. Is it clear? Any doubts? This is another way of representation. Control data flow graph. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So here the basic advantage is we can have the control signal also represented over here, and we can actually have a clear idea of what are the control signal and also the data signal. Here this is a control signal and this is a control signal. So based on the control signals, this will work. We can actually get an idea. Here also there is no clear distinction between controller data or control variables and data variables. The representation will be the same, but looking at the code, we can identify that what is the control action or what are the control signals for this particular code. Okay. This control data flow graph is also incorporating control signals as well as the normal variables. Okay, data variables and control variables are present inside this control data flow graph, and there is no clear distinction between the controller or controller variables and data path variables are not distinguished here. It's actually mixed. The representation is actually in a mixed manner. There's no distinction. The next is FSMD. Okay, finite state machine with data representation. Or FSMD specification means finite state machine with data. Okay, this you already know, right? FSMD. Have you seen this in any of your subjects? FSMD.
Yes.
Which subject? Sorry? Your previous semester you have seen this one, right?
ADS.
ADSD also you have.
ADSD.
ADSD. Okay.
ADSD.
So this is FSMD based representation. This is also another way of representation. Here what we have done is we have different states. We are actually identified the different states for this particular program. Okay. First one is state 0. Okay. Up to state 7. That means 8 states are here. State 0, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 states are here. Okay. And there are different control signals. That means that will be actually responsible for the state transitions and all. First state is state 0. Okay, that means here different states are there, and we are assuming that each state will require only one clock cycle for execution. Okay, so based on that only we are actually defining this particular states. Each state will require only one clock cycle. Okay, that means initial state is state 0. It will be waiting for the start signal. Once the start signal is 0, it will retain in the same state itself. State 0. The start is 0. It will again jump back to the state 0 itself. When the start signal is made 1, it will move to the next state, state 1. Okay. In the state 1, we are actually doing two initialization. One is done signal done equal to 0 and data equal to input. Whatever be the input coming, that will be stored to data variable. Okay. Done is a control signal. Okay, that control signal initialization and this data variable data equal to input can be done in a same clock cycle. Data, this output count, mask, all these are data variables, and that will be stored inside a same register file itself. Okay, we have in our architecture we have a register. In the same register itself, we will be having this data register or data variable, output count and mask will be stored in a same register file itself. Different locations may be there. So we cannot do the whole initialization in a single state. We are actually specifying different states for the initialization. State 1, state 2, and state 3 are for initialization. In the first step, what we are doing is we are actually initializing data equal to input. We are actually initializing whatever be the input coming, that will be stored to data. Okay. Along with that, we can actually do a control signal initialization. Control signal is actually not a register value. We are actually setting the control signal as 0. Okay. Then next state, we are actually initializing the output count equal to 0. In the state 3, we are initializing mask equal to 1. Okay. 3 states, state 1, 2, and 3 actually do the initialization. So one variable from a register file will be initialized at a time, state 1, state 2, and state 3. Okay. Is it okay? We can do a control signal initialization as well as a data path or data register initialization in the same state. That's why first state is actually having two initialization, done equal to 0 and data equal to input. Other states means state 2 will be having only one output count will be initialized as 0, then mask will be initialized as 1. Then state 4 will be the same. Temporary variable will be taken as data and mask. Whatever be the mask value is 1, and whatever be the input, that will be added together and that will be stored to temp variable. Then state 5 means it's equal to output count equal to output count plus 10. Okay. And next we can have state 6. State 6 means we are actually right shifting the data, and if the data is not equal to 0, we are actually moving back to S4. This loop will be continued till the data becomes 0. Once the data equal to 0, it will come to S7, where the output will be, or output port will be given the value as output count. Whatever be the value in the register output count, that will be given to the output port, and the done signal is actually made as 1. Okay. Then it will again get back to the state 0 for repeating. That means it will wait for the start signal again, and this whole process will be repeated again. Is it clear? FSMD based representation. Is it clear? Any doubts?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
So now we are actually, if we are actually going for the RTL based specification, then we can actually have the RTL architecture for this particular once counter. Okay, right now we have actually gone through the input specification. In the RTL specification, we will be having a corresponding data path part as well as a controller path. Okay, RTL specification of one counter means, again, this is also a part of input specification, right? That means in the first slide we have actually seen RTL netlist based specification. Here we are actually specifying this RTL netlist based specification over here. This is also one way of input specification. Here what we are actually doing is we will be having a data path part as well as a controller path. The controller path, or will be actually, when we are doing the RTL specification, what we will do is actually we will specify the data path architecture. What are the register files, what are the buses, what are the functional units present in the data path, how the connection happens inside the data path. All this will be clearly specified, and along with that we will specify two tables, one for output logic and one for input logic. Okay, RTL specification will be having what are the components that will be used in the RTL architecture, what are the components that needs to be used for the corresponding RTL architecture, that will be specified. That means what are the register files, ALUs, or what are the functional units, register files, buses needed for the data path. And along with that, we will be having two tables, one for input logic and one for output logic. That means one input table and one output table will be specified. Okay. So from this input table, we can actually create or we can actually build the corresponding circuitry for the input logic. Here input logic means it will be some circuitry. So from the input table, we have to identify the corresponding logic that is needed for the representation of this particular input logic. We have to identify the circuitry from this particular input table. Similarly, output tables will be there. From the output table, we have to identify the corresponding circuitry that is needed for the implementation of this particular output logic. Okay, then the connection all needs will be specified using the netlist. That means from RTL library will be needed for selection of the components, and then the interconnection will be specified using the corresponding netlist. That is what we call as RTL specification. Okay, so next thing is RTL specification. The RTL specification, what we are doing is we will be having a data path netlist as well as a controller netlist. Okay, data path netlist means what is the different RTL components needed for this particular data path, and then the controller netlist means it will be having an input logic or input table as well as an output table. So input table will be used for generation of the input table will be used for generation of the input logic, and the corresponding output table will be needed for generation of the output logic. Okay. Anyway, we have already seen the architecture of an FSM controller. FSM controller will be having a controller part as well as a data path. So in the controller, we have two sections. One is input logic section and one is output logic section. So we have to identify the circuitry needed for the input logic and what have to identify the circuitry needed for the output logic. For finding out the circuitry for input logic as well as output logic, we will be having corresponding table representations. From the tables, we have to identify the circuitry needed for this particular input logic as well as the output logic. That we have to identify. Okay. So we will be having two tables. Main thing here is we will be having two tables. One is input table and an output table. So from the input table, we have to identify the input logic circuitry, and from the output table, we have to identify the output logic circuitry. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So RTL specification will be having two tables. One is input table as well as an output table. Okay. So for the same ones counter, what will be the input table representation that we have to study. We have to just look at that particular input table for an ones counter as well as for ones counter what should be the output table. That is the next section. So here this is the input table for a ones counter. Okay, input logic table. That means input table will be having corresponding present state representation. What is the input? What is the next state? And what will be the final output? All this will be represented in the input logic table. Okay. Here we have one section as present state, next section as inputs, then next state and output. These are the sections here. Okay. So initial state is S0, state 0. Okay. So state 0 to state 1 transition, we know in the state diagram we have actually seen this state 0. So state 0 to state transition, state 1 transition will be depending upon the start signal. If the start signal is 0, it will retain the state S0, and if it is 1, then only it will move to S1. There is no other dependency here from state 0 to state 1 transition. So here what we have to do is state 0, okay, input logic what's input logic here? It will be actually identifying what is the control inputs to that particular controller, and it will determine what is the next state of that particular FSR. That will be determined by the input logic table. when we study this FSM controller, we already explained what is the input logic and what is output logic. Input logic will receive the control inputs as well as the status inputs, and it will determine what is the next state of that particular FSM. That is what we called as input logic table. So same thing what we are actually doing here. We'll be having a state 0. So right now the present state is state 0, and if the start signal is 0, then the next state will be it will be independent of data. Whatever be the value of data, it will not be considered here. If the start is 0, the next state is 0. Done signal is undefined in this particular scenario. Okay, then S0 itself, that means present state is S0, and if the start signal is 1, then independent of data, whatever be the data, is not considered here. But if the start signal is 1, then the next state will be maintained as state 1. When start signal is received, it will move to state 1. So output done signal is not used here, it will be again undefined. From state 1 means again here, state 1 we have actually defining state done as 0. Okay, data will be input that we are not considering here. Done signal is maintained as 0, and in the next clock cycle it will move to S2. So S1 is for 1 clock cycle. So from S0 to S1 we have to check for the start signal. When start signal is received, then only it will move to S1. So from S1 to S2, independent of this input, it should move to S2. That means after 1 clock cycle, from S1 to S2, the transition will happen. Okay, here S1. So when the start signal is 1, it will move to S1. So in this S1, it will actually do some operations, and that is done signal will be maintained, will be made as 0, and the data will be also received. So that will be part of a register. The register initialization will be done by the output logic, so that we are not showing in the input table. The done signal will be maintained as 0, and then in the next clock cycle it will move to S2. That's for sure. So S1, in the S1 it will actually move to, it will not consider any data inputs here. Okay, input logic table, don't need to worry about the input data. It will actually just set the next state as S2, and the done signal will be maintained as 0. Similarly for S2 here, in the next clock cycle it will move to S3. The state will be changed to S3. So independent of the data, it should actually set the data state as S3. So again here, independent of the data, that means start signal or data is not considered here. It will make the next state as S3. Similarly for S3 to S4, there is no condition check. Next clock cycle it will be maintained as S4. S4 to S5, no condition check. S5 to S6, no condition check, or no independent of any input, it should be moved to S6. But S6, from S6 onwards, and means S6, from S6, the next state can be S4 or S7, depending upon the data. If data is not 0, it will move to S4, and if data is equal to 0, it will move to S7. Okay, that condition check will be happening over here. If the data is 0, then next state is S4. If the data is not 0, it will move to, if the data is not 0, condition check, data equal to 0 is false. Okay, data equal to 0 is false means it will move to S4. Data equal to 0 is false, then it will move to S4. If data equal to 0 is true, then it will move to S7. It will check whether the data is 0. The condition is data equal to 0. If the data equal to 0, if it is false, it will move to S4. If it is true, it will move to S7. Okay. Then from S7, only thing it has to do is done signal has to be maintained as 1, and next state will be S0. So independent of the input, from S7 to S7, done signal will be maintained as 1, and next state will be maintained as 0. Okay, that's the input logic. That means next state, how the next state will be determined. What are the signals to be considered for the input or next state specification, that will be specified in the logic table, input logic table. Okay, since this is a, here the output is depending upon the states only. So S7 means done will be maintained as 1. So that's why the done signal is output done will be maintained in the input logic table. That means here done signal is maintained as high only in S7. So what is the condition check for the inputs and what's the next stage? That will be clearly identifiable from this particular logic table. Okay. Clear? Input logic table will be considering the present state. What are the inputs needed for identifying the next state? That will be clearly specified in the input logic table. Okay. Here, depending upon the start signal and data, the next state will be determined. So the start signal and the data equal to 0 condition check will be done in this input logic table. Depending upon that, the next state will be defined. And final output done signal will be depending on the state. So the done signal value also should be represented in the input logic table. Is it clear? Any doubts?
Yes.
Doubts?
No, sir.
Sir.
Okay, that's a input logic table representation. Then the corresponding output logic table representation. So output logic table means, in our diagram we can actually see this is the output logic table. So it has to instruct the data path what should be the action has to be taken place. Okay, for this particular state, okay, what are the controls or what are the actions to be done by the data path that will be specified by the output logic, right? So we have already seen this controller architecture. In our controller architecture, we said that the output logic will be determining what are the operations to be happen in each and every state. So output logic table should also give that particular information. So in the output logic table representation, it should be clear. Okay, it should be specifying the data path, what are the actions to be performed. Okay. So here in this particular case, we need a data variable and a mask, output count, and temp. Okay, temp, output count, mask, and data. These are the variables that we need. So in the output logic table, first thing is we are actually specifying that we have a register file. In that register file, 0th location is for data. Okay, register 0 is data, register 1 is mask, register 2 is count, and register 3 is temporary variable. Okay. Okay, we have a register file, and in that register file 0 is data for storing the data. Register file 1 is for storing the mask variable. Register file 2 is for storing output count, and register file 3 is for temporary variable. Okay, so that should be kept in mind. So here, okay, we are actually specifying that we have a ALU. In our data path, we have a ALU, right? This is the ALU. This ALU has 2 ports. Okay, 2 input ports. 2 inputs are coming to this ALU that we are calling as port A and port B. Okay. So what should be the content of port A? What should be the content of port B? That should be clearly specified. And what is the output? Where the output needs to be stored? All this should be specified in the output logic. Okay. So here, in this particular output logic table, we will be having one table or one column of state. What is the current state? Okay, that will be specified. This one, first column is state. Second column is what is the port A. For the ALU, we need 2 inputs, port A and port B. So, which register file needs to be read for port A? Okay, which register or register RF should be register file should be register file 0 means data, register file 1 is mask, register file 2 is output count, register file 3 is temporary variable. So it's the same register file, the location 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. There's a register file location 0 is for data, register file location 1 is for marks, register file location 2 is for output count, and 3 for temporary. So here we have to specify which register has to be read for this port A, which register has to be read for port B. Then we have an ALU and a shifter. Here we have a ALU and a shifter. So what should be the operation of this ALU and what should be the value of this shifter? Okay. Then register file selector should be there, from where the register has to be taken. Okay. What is the input? Whether it is from the input port or whether it's output from this particular bus 3 or whatever be the source of this particular data, that has to be specified here. RF selector. RF selector means it can be specifying the source of that particular data. And RF write means where to write, the location to write. And finally the output, whether we have to give the final output as final output should be enabled or disabled, that should be specified. Okay, output port, that means this is an output port. Whether the final, when you obtain the final result, then only the value should be given to the output port. That means then only we have to enable the output port. Till then the output should be disabled or in the high impedance state. Okay, we have the current state, then input ALU needs two inputs, port A and port B. So which register needs to be read for port A, which register needs to be read for port B. Then if there is an ALU operation, what is the operation to be performed by the ALU? Then we have a shifter in the data path. What is the role of shifter in this particular state? And then from there the data can be obtained, and then from to which register the data needs to be write. RF write. Okay, register file read for port A, register file read for port B, operation of ALU, shifter, then source of that data. RF selector means from where the data needs to be selected, and RF file means to which register we have to write. Output port is actually enabled only in the final stage. So state 0 is nothing. Here from the data path perspective, there is nothing to be done by the state 0, right? State 0 means whenever the cycle is 0, it will be in the state 0. There is no operation to be performed in state 0. When state signal is 1, it will go to state 1. So that will be done by the input logic table. So state transition all will be dealt by this particular input logic table. Here the output logic table needs to be worried about only the operations in each and every state. So output logic table, there is no input to ALU in this particular state. S0 means there is no action to be performed. That means port A should be undefined, port B should be undefined, ALU is undefined, shifter is undefined, selector is undefined, RF write is undefined, output port is in high impedance state. That is, there is nothing to be done for state 0. Okay, data path has no role for this state 0. So once it is in state 1, what needs to be done? Data should be selected as input. The done signal is already specified in the input logic table. No need to worry about the done signal. What we have to worry about is the data. Data should be input. So how we have to specify that? That means there is nothing to be given to the ALU. We are actually storing the input. Whatever be the input coming, that will be stored to this data register, that is register file 0. So ALU input is 0, port A input, port B input is 0, ALU has no role, shifter has no role, and input port, that means RF selector, the data is coming through the input port. That input port value should be returned to RF write should be register file 0. Register file 0 is the data here. Here the data is for register file 0. That means whatever be the input coming, that should be returned to register file 0. Output is again high impedance. That's for state 1. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Do you have any class today? Any other class today?
Yes, sir. AICD. Kiran, sir.
11:30?
Yes.
Okay. As per the schedule, there was no other class, right? Thursday. It was a rescheduled one.
No,
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 no.
timetable.
For the timetable, you had AICD, right? AICD.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then we will finish here. We will continue this same output logic description in the next class. Okay, right now it's